Yeah. Unknown Brain, Marvin Divine. I'm saying bye to all the lies and all the times you cried, saying that I wasn't right, yet I was right by your side. You manipulator, playing games, your friends commentators, and I don't know what you say about our private conversations, but it's got them hating. Thanks to all the rumors you be claiming. It's cool, I'm done with you, so they can throw you a celebration. You gon' hate it when you see me with somebody living better. I'm trying to tell you that me just doing me gon' have you jealous.
I know that I gotta stay away from all your games, yeah. I know that I found somebody else to love me one day, yeah. You'll realize the grass ain't greener on the other side, no. You did me dirty for the last time, so now I gotta say goodbye. So now I gotta say
Yeah, my life is lovely now, I'm focused on me. You said you were about to die, I guess the car is on E. But see, I ain't even tripping, cause I just chose to believe that somebody gon' come around and give me just what I need. I don't wanna see you flying, see you looking down and out, coming to me crying, saying you miss having me around. Gave you chances and you blew it, you so easily influenced. All the times you told me beat it, now you gotta face the music. I'm saying
I know that I gotta stay away from all your games, yeah. I know that I found somebody else to love me one day, yeah. You'll realize the grass ain't greener on the other side, no. You did me dirty for the last time, so now I gotta say goodbye.
Okie dokie. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 6th week of the EDL Waveline. I'm joined by our one and only Clutch, but we have a special guest with us today. It is G&E Pearl's coach, Ritz. Can you give us a quick introduction?
Hello, I'm Ritz. I am the coach of Genie and also the coach of Cold's team as well. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, isn't this the team that Cole never shows up to?
True.
True, always comes to EDL. That's how much he cares, okay? He always shows up for EDL and EGL. So that's what it is. But, we're going to have a nice
Doesn't
look
care.
into it because our stream match, it doesn't care. Our stream match today is going to be Snack Bears versus Genie Pearl, so it'll be nice to have a little bit of insight into that one. But we're going to go right ahead and look at what happened last week in week number 5. We had a 2-0 for Revolution when they went against Glacial Phantom, a 2-0 for TDS when they went against the Snack Bears, 2-0 for BDE when they went against Genie Pearl, and then we also had a 2-0 for AH Tierney versus the Donut Shop Chocolate. So a full week of 2-0s. I think this is our first one. It was really crazy. I think our first week we had like full 3-game series, and then like the next week after it was 3 2-0s, and then week 3 it was 2-2, and then I don't know, there's like some weird pattern formulating. This has to be the script, right? Like I think Cole had some fun like writing down all the numbers.
Of course, yeah.
Hold on. Let's remember who has the script. That's you. You always get every dragon correct. It's not me, okay? I'm not the one.
That's for the
scripted
dragons,
dragon.
though. You're scripting obviously for like the rest of the league, right? Like you're the one who made the schedule, man.
Okay.
Oh.
Technically, it was Matt Pizza, by the way. So I'm just saying, I didn't make the schedule. Matt Pizza made it. So maybe he's rigging it.
That's true. So I think we'll just start from that first series between Revolution Frontline and Glacial Phantom. So obviously this was a very Revolution favored series. I think this actually makes Glacial Phantom out of playoff contention, being 0-5 in the season now. Even if they were to win this week and next week, I think that puts them at 2-5. And correct me if I'm wrong, Cole, I'm pretty sure that doesn't let them into the top 6.
Yeah, they can't make it because they FF. And you don't get a point for FFing, so they would immediately lose the tiebreaker. So yeah, they can't make.
Yeah, unfortunate. But looking through these two games, Clutch, there's a game where, so Revless Banks obviously very competent on that signature Kaisa pick. They gave it to him at game number 1. Game number 2 is actually still left up. But they opted to give him Jin, actually. And I think overall, there was just really strong showing from Revolution. Overall, so Clutch, my question for you, if you're looking at Revolution, where does this put them in the standings, right? Like, yeah, sure, they just beat Glacial Phantom, a team that's obviously been struggling throughout the season, but Revolution being 4-1, only having dropped 1 series, where do you see them, right? The only series they dropped was to BDE Lucid in week number 3.
Yeah, Revolution, they still have yet to play, I believe, the 2 best teams in the league. Yeah, so they still have to play TD Syndicate and AH Tyranny. Yeah, they're 4-1 right now, but these next 2 games are not going to be easy, and it's definitely going to shake up the top of the standings, because I feel like, at least for like Snack Bears and Genie, I feel like they're going to be 5th, 6th, and then like top 4 to me is kind of like wide open of like who could go where. So yeah, Rev, they've taken down the teams they're supposed to beat. Like they've beaten the teams under them, but now this is the real test to see, all right, is this team actually like, are they going to be able to contend with TD Syndicate and AH Tyranny in the playoffs? Or is this going to be, they're going to be going into the playoffs potentially on a 2-game losing streak, which obviously is not going to be good. You don't want that to happen. So we'll see how they do. Right now, obviously, I think they're top 4. I don't think they're going to drop out of top 4. It's got to be like, I don't even think it's, no, it is still, no, it's not possible. I don't think it's possible. So we'll see where they end up. Obviously, no one wants to play Tyranny round 1, so you would like to be 3rd or 2nd. You don't want to be 4th. But yeah, we'll see where Rev goes. They got 2 important games in the next 2 weeks, and those are going to be real good tests to see where this team actually is in the top 4.
I think if the stars align for a few of the other teams, I think it might be possible for Revolution to actually fall below top 4. Obviously, I would need to like check all the other series and do some math, but yeah, like you said, Clutch, like they're going against AH Tierney and TD Syndicate in these next 2 weeks, so it really does change where these standings are looking like, because like, yeah, you beat all the bottom teams, but now you still have those top 2 teams who are also strong top contenders, right? So, Ritz, I know that G&E has gone against, I think, Revolution as well already. I do think you guys took a loss against them. So, and looking at them and Glacial Phantom, between these two teams, obviously Revolution is the stronger team just by paper and just through the season. What are your overall thoughts on this series and Rev as a team? Do you think G&E can actually like sneak above them in the standings if like the stars aligned?
If the stars aligned, yes, but like on a realistically, probably not. I mean, they are like at least in Genie, like I don't want to give out too much. I still think they're in their development phase. So at least they have to get like used to each other, especially with all the roster swaps and switching out players. So I mean, there is a chance, but I think Rev has it down and solidified over Genie.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, overall, just like nature of their standings, because even if they were to lose the next 2 weeks, they would be 4-3, and Genie, if they were to win their next two, they'd be 4-3 as well, right? And obviously,
Right.
Revolution has that head-to-head too.
I
So
think they have more games. Yeah.
yeah, it would depend, seeing how that would play out. But I think overall, Clutch, my last question for you: between these two teams, who do you think? Like, okay, obviously, don't name the very obvious players, but who do you think were the star players, especially for Rev? We talk a lot about Rev, the Spanx, but I think there are other players that we don't really notice as much.
Yep. So obviously the All Star ballot came out today. So that's something. The two, I believe there was 3 nominees from Rev. It was their top laner, their jungler, and I believe their ADC, who all ended up making it. Obviously, everyone talks about Spanx because he's one of the best ADCs in the league. I mean, he puts up insane stats, insane numbers every single game. But they have Chicky Pie in the top lane who, he plays these tanks and he does an exceptional job on them. He might not have the highest damage. He might not have the most impressive stats, but he is beating people in lane with tanks. Like, he's just slapping them. And he doesn't care about the counter pick. He doesn't care about playing carries because they already have Spanx to play towards. And having a top laner that can consistently win weak side is like a godsend. That is like insanely hard to do. And I think Chicky Pie for sure definitely earned their way onto the ballot with that. Their jungler that they brought in, they had a different one for like the beginning of the split. I think it was like Tristana jungle. Genjibin comes in. He's looked pretty solid the entire time that he's been playing. He even played in gold for a series with FTD. I mean, he was playing support, but still got that action in gold, looked decent in that series. So, I like what Rev's got going here. I think they've got a pretty solid team, and definitely excited what these other two, Genjamin and Chicky Pie, who I think have been playing really good this season, can bring. And for Glacial, I think with this team, obviously, they kind of have like a different roster every week. They have a lot of roster problems. One person I do want to point out, their mid laner, Naoki, I think that's how you say it. He had a good series. I don't know where Glacial finds their mids, but like every single mid they've brought in has been really good. And they had a really good series. I mean, the Akali game, they went 12-8, and they had 44 deaths and only 20 kills. So the Akali was over half the kills. So Naoki, I don't know if they're staying, what's going on with them, but if this was only a 1 series stint for them, they look pretty good in their series. And props to them for showing up to play on Glacial. Maybe not the best team, but definitely performing. So if they're playing this week or in the future, definitely going to be looking forward to see what they can do for Glacial.
Yeah, I mean, going into the next 2 weeks, obviously, for TD Syndicate and Tierney, like their top laners are huge, huge monsters as well. We talk about Downfall a lot, being that split pushing carry that is really hard to stop, especially in like lower elo. You have someone like go on Tryndamere and like we don't know how to answer the split push, right? So I think, like you're saying, if Chicky Pie is able to neutralize or somewhat lose gracefully against more top centered team style like play, I think like you also said, Gengjabin can play around that top lane instead. I really would like to see how Rev decides to play against these kind of teams, or do they just keep focusing on their bot lane? Obviously having a very talented duo down there with the Spanx and Wingman. So I think going into these next 2 weeks, it really, really would show I think where Rev's weaknesses would lie or where their strengths are. But with that, we're going to look at that next series. We have TD Syndicate versus Snack Bears. There's a 2-0 for TD Syndicate. I think this is also pretty favored for TD Syndicate. I think obviously like TD Syndicate coming into the season, they have a lot more veteran players. They have a lot more experience overall as a team and as an organization. So I think This series, obviously, I think we talked about it last week where we were talking about, like, yeah, snack bears, they can pull out, like, a whole bunch of different things. I think we had Para on the show last week, too. He was talking about, oh, yeah, let snack bears have their weird flex picks, like their Ezreal and their Kaisa mid and all this other stuff, and their Zoe support, right? And then TD Syndicate will just play their standard comps that they've just been running the entire season. So, Ritz, my question for you, if you're looking at TD Syndicate and Snack Bears, so obviously you guys have not gone against Snack Bears yet, as you're going against them today, and you guys haven't gone against TD Syndicate yet either. So, looking at these two teams, I'm just curious on your thoughts overall between these two teams.
Sure. I mean, it'll be like a test between Snackers and Genie, especially like they're both like very similar as in like in the placement. I wouldn't say like team comp wise. I know there's some weird flex picks with Pearl as well. I don't want to go into that, but I can see like the similarities between Snackers. I guess like for TD Syndicate, they just seem to have like everything nailed down. So I guess like that overpowered Snack Bears and uh I'm not sure if this is true for Snack Bears, but their support that plays mid laners is not playing today. I could be wrong, but we'll see like what other options Snack Bears has today. But yeah.
Yeah, this was actually the streamed match, I believe, last week. Looking at it too, it was a lot of, I think, game one was actually relatively close. In terms of the playmaking. We saw Moonbill play that LeBlanc, right? We were like, yeah, LeBlanc's gonna get like super far ahead, and like we saw that there was a lot of potential there. But I think they kind of started to fall apart in the mid to late game. Snack Bears, obviously they put Talon in the jungle actually playing Graves, and they moved Silent actually down to support. So I think Snack Bears, while they were actually making a lot of proactive plays and a lot of picks early, I think it really came apart when they had a team fight. So when we were watching TD Syndicate play, we keep talking about all their other champions and players like Agency 6 playing that Zeri, Rhymes playing Renata. Yeah, 2022 bot lane, by the way. How do you win?
True.
Yeah, right. And we had RNG Cherry playing Gwen, like just split pushing the entire time too. And we saw Super Square just like running around the map too. So I think TD Syndicate looked a lot more put together as a team. So Clutch, also watching that series, right? Like, what do you think exactly was happening for Snack Bears? Was it just kind of like we don't know how to communicate, or just they just got out team fought?
So for the Snack Bears, I feel like when we said like, TD Syndicate's just gonna play standard, I think the Snack Bears were like, all right, if we play standard, maybe we're just the better players and we'll beat them. But we didn't really see that kind of style out of the Snack Bears where they picked these really weird supports. Now, to be fair, Talon ate 3 bans. All the unique mids he kind of plays at support. There was still some left, but ate a lot of those bans at support and decided to kind of play more standard. I was expecting more unique picks out of the Snack Bears because that's kind of what they're known for. And game 1, it wasn't the end of the world. I think, obviously Talon going jungle. I think the jungle mid played very well, but with Snack Bears, the way they win is through unique picks. They play these picks that nobody's practiced against, and that's how they beat you. And it's a little bit weird for them to kind of deviate from that path. Maybe they're just trying something else because they're already clinched playoffs, and the odds of them getting top 4 are very low. So they're just like, all right, let's just try stuff. But yeah, I would have liked them to go kind of towards these unique picks, even if it's not the meta, because again, some of these teams you never play against it, and it could just be like, all right, well, how do we even play against this? And you end up winning. So a little bit interesting from the Snack Bears. We'll see how they do this week. Yeah, I don't think Talon is playing because he won't be able to, as in he's ineligible because he hasn't played 5 ranked games this week. So he won't even be allowed to play. So we'll see what the new Snack Bears looks like on stream. We'll see if they're going to play standard, or maybe, maybe they got some spice cooking up. They got some spicy picks going to come out.
Yeah, I feel like, especially in that second game, right? When I think we were watching, I think Cole, you and I were watching Downfall's perspective. I think when they were playing against Snack Bears, Talon was playing Zoe support as they like to, and they were just like perma running around the map. One thing is like, I've seen Zoe support when she first came out, and then, but you're like playing for your lane, right? You're like playing a poke. You're essentially Xerath, but not. And then, but to add on to that, started running around the map. You're becoming like a roaming Zoe support, right? And I feel like you said, that takes a lot of people by surprise, and then you don't know how to answer that, right? Especially if they're playing a really safe ADC as well. Yeah, I think going into this week, we'd be interested to see how Snack Bears will play, especially against Genie Pearl, or maybe we're gonna see some really spicy picks. That's what we like to see. We want to be entertained,
Of course.
Of course. So that next series we're going to look at is BDE Lucid versus Genie Pearl. So this was a 2-0 for BDE. Honestly, we thought this was going to be more of like a 3-game series where Genie had a really good chance of taking this one. So I'll let you start us off, Ritz.
Yeah, I mean, props to BD, of course. Like they played well. I mean, it really came down to if Pearl could like get their mid laner up ahead, but for game one, but it seemed like BD just over pushed with their team comp and just like going front to back and just destroying everything, which is unfortunate. I mean, it's a team game at the end of the day. So even though the mid laner for Pearl got ahead, they still had or at least BD had the better team comp. So, I mean, that's at least what happened for game one. I don't really remember for game two, but it I mean, yeah, props to BD. I just didn't expect what else to do for Pearl at least. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean BDE. I think BDE is a lot stronger than they are on paper. They're currently 3-2, but I think
sure.
they play a lot better than a 3-2 team. Uh, just kind of looks like, right? Because their last two series, so this week they're going against TDS Chocolate, and then they go against Snack Bears, right? So these are teams that are already below them in the standings. Obviously, TDS Chocolate out of playoff contention, and Snack Bears currently just being one win under them, 2-3. So I think that BDE I think BDE actually has a really good chance of inching themselves into that top 4 spot and starting in the winners bracket.
Oh, sure. Yep.
Yeah. So looking at like this series, like you were talking about, I think BDE has a really good play style that they already know how to play towards.
Mhm.
Like you said, very front to back. Just even from when we've seen them play, they do seem to have a very good idea of how they want to team fight together too. So I think overall, like you said, um, sometimes teams are just better at playing to their win condition than the other teams, or like we're all people, we mess up, so that does
That's
happen.
fair. Yeah.
Yeah. So we can't all be perfect like Matt Pizza in his predictions. So,
That's true. True. Mad
so
pizza.
exactly, Matt Pizza knows. So Clutch, when you're looking at these two teams, right, BDE and Genie Pearl, do you think that Genie is taking too long to kind of like obviously it's being a development roster, right? Do you think this was kind of that one series to really benchmark where they're at?
So I think Genie Pearl to me is like, I mean, I said at the beginning of the season that this team would probably be like a 5th or 6th place team. They'd be in the lower bracket. They would make the playoffs. I thought they were a good enough team to make the playoffs without a doubt. But the problem with the top 4 teams is that a lot of the top 4 teams, they have a lot of players who have been around for a while, and they have a bunch of people who have like just raw firepower. And something that G&E lacks is the experience. Now, experience doesn't really matter too much in the regular season. Yes, it does matter if you've played comp before. Like, obviously, we saw Genie at the beginning of the season. Like, they haven't played comp, so they're still getting used to it. But experience really comes into play in the playoffs. Once you start getting into the playoffs, the best of fives, even, that's when the experience comes in. And I don't know if Genie can really go far in the playoffs because of that. Now, what I will say is BDE, once they get rolling, they're scary because they have a good team. A lot of their players are exceptional. They're very talented across the board, and they finally found out this play style. We saw last season. I mean, BDE won last season, and BDE wasn't the first seed. They weren't the best team in the league. They were the second seed, I believe, or the third, and they ended up winning. So you don't need to be the number 1 team to win it all. The right meta comes around, you finally, figure out how to play your style. You could just come online and beat everyone. So BDE is starting to come online. This happened last season where they really started to find their footing towards the end of the season. And it's very scary because if BDE wins these next 2 weeks, they're 5-2, and they're looking good into the playoffs, riding a huge win streak. For G&E, I still think this team's pretty happy with their results so far. Like, yeah, they're 2-3, and you could hope maybe they do a little bit better, but so far I feel like coming in, this team had no expectations, and to be in the playoffs right now, clinched, because they are clinched, I'd have to say that's a pretty good success for this team.
Yeah, and I mean, just overall looking at how they've been playing and all the different games they've played against different teams, it's really hard for me to pinpoint exactly like where their biggest weaknesses even. I think we've seen a lot of strength from like all the players overall. So it really becomes kind of hard. Like, how do you break them apart, right? Like, they sure they have like they took 2 losses in the season, one from TD Syndicate and one from Tierney, obviously being those top 2 teams, right? So I think in these last 2 weeks, BDE will really show us where they're going, and then I think that they could go really far in playoffs, like you said, just with putting everything together. So if we look at G&E, it really becomes like, where is the weakness in Genie? Is it like an overall 5-man unit kind of thing, or did you just kind of like have the players that woke up on the wrong side of the bed for this series, Ritz?
We had a somewhat of a plan like going into against BDE, as in like who's playing what. For like, as in like one jungler was playing blue side, one's gonna play red side due to the champ pool. Like, say like we want to first pick Hecarim or something, like or just flex. So I mean, yeah, it seemed like some players just didn't play optimally. Like, the synergy in bot lane wasn't there, at least for both the games. And I guess like at that point, like only Pearl's mid laner can realistically carry out that game, and unfortunately it didn't happen. So hopefully we can see like a better, like cleaner game play in against Snack Bears. But yeah, as you said, it really wasn't. They weren't there that day. So like, so hopefully they'll just play better against Snack Bears this time.
True, I think going against Snack Bears this week, if you guys take it good 2-0, then it'll be a really good confidence boost going against TD Syndicate in week 7. But with that, we're going to look at that last series, which is Tierney versus the Donut Shop Chocolate. So obviously, you're looking at the top team in the league versus a team that is out of playoff contentions, 5-0 versus 0-5. I think it's easy to just say that Tierney basically outclass them at every point of the game with every role and every player. So clutch, when we're looking at these two teams, Tierney and TDS Chocolate, I don't even know what like there is to really say about this series other than just Tierney was just the better team, and they just showed us that.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I feel like if you're TDS Chocolate, I mean, obviously you're eliminated. Same with Glacial. You just play spoiler at this point. Just have some fun in the last 2 weeks. I mean, just show up to play, have fun, try to, spoil some playoffs. I mean, they still have the spoil factor. Like, these games, yes, the other team, in theory, should win. Both these teams are 0-5. Now, week 7, they're playing each other. And you got to win that game. All right, you don't want to get last. And it's the stream game. All right, it's going to be a banger. Who's going to get the first win of the season is all I'm saying.
True.
But if you're TDS, if you're Glacial, just have fun. Try some stuff out. Your season's over. Yeah, you could still play spoiler. I mean, imagine one of these top teams loses to TDS Chocolate or Glacial. Like, that's going to be pretty detrimental to their record in their season, and you could really screw up playoff seeding. But we'll have to see. But again, yeah, just have fun. Do whatever you want. Play some unique picks that maybe, you'd never get to play in competitive, and have a good time.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Leper, he played Kennen. I don't think I've ever seen Leper Koopa play Kennen, ever. I remember his Hullbreaker Trundle in the stream match a while ago. But yeah, I mean, I have to agree that, like, this series was kind of just a stomp. Like, Tierney just showed up, did what they, usually do, and just showed up and played some League of Legends, right? So, Ritz, my question for you, when you're looking at Tierney, right, their last 2 weeks, this week they're going against Rev, and then, oh no, I lied, they're going against Glacial Phantom this week, and next week they're going against Revolution, my bad. So, My question for you is, if you're looking at AH Tierney, do you think they actually finish with a perfect 7-0 record?
I mean, at the end of the day, like they made like playoffs, but they at a certain point, like you have to uphold that standard and like say um like just say like me and Cole, we play Get Wrecked together. We were the 6th seed going into like tourney. Like we made it to 3rd place. So at a certain point, like yes, they can probably go perfect record, but like they have to uphold that standard that they can at least like go far in the playoffs. And like they might honestly do that, but like they still have to keep that like momentum going. And I think when people think, oh yeah, we're so ahead in the lead, like we can just like screw around. And I think that's a little bit worrisome where they can like screw up and lose a couple of games and lose momentum. And at the end of the day, they could actually fall out. So yes, they can go 7-0, but I just think they have to hold up that standard, and they might actually do that.
Okay, so apparently they now go by coachless Tyranny. AH is not a thing anymore.
Okay.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean these next 2 weeks for them will really look just to be where do they end up? Obviously they're in the playoffs already. But yeah, how do they end off the season? Is it gonna be on a strong note, a really high note, or is it just gonna be like a
Who
oh,
knows?
we dropped a game by accident, oopsies, right? But it's what it is.
Hmm.
Alrighty, so we're gonna go right into our predictions. We're gonna start off with Revolution versus TD Syndicate. Um, so Ritz, you and I are on Team Rev. Clutch and Matt Pizza, the guy who gives me his predictions and then tells me last minute that he's not gonna show up, is on the TD Syndicate side. So Clutch, since you're actually the only one on TD Syndicate, I'll let you go first.
So I'm just gonna say this right now. I actually think Rev is going to win this series. Now, you have to have an upset every week. It's like March Madness, right? You need to pick a team to upset. If you're just gonna pick the higher seed to win every game, what's the point, right? You need to pick an upset somewhere in there. You know, we got St. Peter's who's running it. We got Iowa State who's going off. You know, Gonzaga's out. Arizona's out. You can't just pick the higher seed and expect to always win. So this week, I think Rev is slightly better, but I'm going to go with TD Syndicate. We talked about how, you know, experience matters, right? And I feel like Rev have a very solid roster. Like they have Les Banks who can lead his team. Genjamin coming in has been a great addition to the team. Wingman at support, been doing a fantastic job with Les Banks in the bottom line. Like this team, I feel like is stacked. And we don't talk about them that much. I feel like we talk about, you know, Age Tyranny. We talk about TD Syndicate a lot. I feel like we don't really talk about BD too much, but I feel like we talk about BD more than Revs. So, but I feel like the rookies coming in. You know, experience matters, but this is the week. The rookies come in from TD Syndicate. You got RNG Cherry in the top lane. Again, if they get a Lowy, the game's over. So I hope that's going to be banned. Agent C6. Can't wait to see what they pull out this week. We saw them last week absolutely pop off. So you know,
Clutch, you know, this time I think I have some hidden tech to tell you. I don't think Agent C6 is playing this week.
All right, TD Syndicate still wins. Okay, then you have Rhymes at support, who Rhymes is very underrated, is what I will say. I feel like a lot of supports in this league don't get talked about. Maybe that's just because me and Exerning are support mains, so we just don't talk about the supports. Maybe that's why.
It's so easy, bro. Trust me. Just play Soraka, like he did.
But we don't ever talk about the supports, and I feel like Rhymes last week definitely showed that he's one of these better supports in the league. So TD Syndicate, I'm just gonna take him for the upset fact. You know, the rookies coming in. You know, they're gonna bring this new style. They're gonna end up taking down Rev, even though I think Rev probably will win. But it's my upset for the week. You got to pick one, and I'm just gonna say, just wait till you see the other predictions that are later on. This upset that I predict, quote unquote upset, is gonna look nothing compared to what some other people picked in like a prediction. You'll see what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and like you said, a lot of credit goes a lot to Rhymes. We talked a lot about their other players. So yeah, I think my biggest thing to watch is especially that bot lane between Les Banks, Wingman, and whoever's playing ADC. Like I said, I don't know if it's Agent C6, yes or no, whoever's going to be there, and Rhymes, right? So I don't know if that's actually going to throw, you know, like a wrench into the synergy that Agency 6 and Rhymes had. But I do have to agree with you, Clutch. Like, I do think the series is actually really close. I think where the rest of the map will have a really big, I wouldn't say difference, but I want to say that it'll be very competitive, right? Will be that top side of the map, right? We're talking about RNG Cherry versus Chicky Pie. Where, like, we were saying before, Chicky Pie usually on that Oran duty, playing that weak side, playing for his team. And then we have Jengjibin and Super Square 04. I think these two junglers are definitely one of the two. Both of them are top 2 junglers in the league, honestly. And going into that, I think it really depends, right? Who kind of English is hard. I think they're both on playmakers most of the time, and I think it really comes down to how do they play around the map, who do they choose to play around, and how does that pan out, right? I think that would really set the tide for the games. But with that, I kind of said 2-1 for Revolution because I'm not gonna lie, I think I told you, Clutch. Yeah, someone told me to predict 2-1 for Revolution. I do think this is a close series between the two, but I don't know. I think it just comes down to like maybe you get like a really lucky gank number 1, like for the first blood, and then it just swings one way, and then I don't know. That's what I'd like to see. But Ritz, you also said 2-1 for Revolution. Where do you think like the biggest difference is going to be made between these two teams?
All right, so first I have to say, thank you, Wingman, for making this like community con. So otherwise, I would have no idea like any other teams. But yeah, looking at like these stats, especially like Agent C6 not playing, I thought, oh, there's a better possibility that Revolution Esports would win. So I just went with 2-1, just because like both teams are 4-1. They seem really strong. So, and then for me at least, like it was the Agent C6 like factor where I thought Revolution Esports would take over TDS. So that's pretty much where I got it from.
Yeah, and both of these teams are coming from 2-0s, right? And I think we were
Hmm.
talking about this before as well. And like you said, looking like thank you to Wingman again for all these really cool previews that he makes. You guys can go check him out in community content. One stat I think that's really interesting is when you look at the gold difference, Revolutions is 8,500
Yeah, that
and
is
TD's is
insane.
5,000. You're up
Both are insane. Yeah.
3.5k, right? Like those are big numbers.
Hmm.
And eventually, you can just slap people with your wallet, right? That's why I think the early game is what's going to really matter for these two teams. So if you give something like Blitzcrank again to Rhymes, and he's making all these really early plays, just like hooking people left and right, maybe they go for an early invade, right? And then they can just snowball the rest of the game. So I think that's where these two teams, I think that's where that biggest difference will come from. But with that, we're going to look at that next game. We have BDE Lucid versus the Donut Shop Chocolate. I feel like this one is just I don't want to say like a no-brainer, but it's really hard for the Donut Shop to really take a game, let alone 2 games, off of BDE and Lucid. Clutch, Ritz, and we all obviously said 2-0. So Clutch, you said 2-0 for BDE. I honestly don't think there's too much to say about this series. Is it just gonna be outclassed at every position, or just they're just better, kind of thing?
I feel like BDE's heating up, and they're playing, a team that's not in the playoffs right now. So I feel like, or at least they can't make it. I feel like TDS Chocolate's just gonna again probably have some fun, and I feel like BD should just be able to take the 2-0. I mean, I think they're just the better team overall. It's going to be really hard for TDS to win a game, TDS Chocolate, unless BDE decide to heavily underestimate TDS Chocolate and they end up losing a game, which would be a big yikes. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think BDE will just take a quick 2-0 in and out. I mean, they're not even playing this week, though. So, do need to keep that in mind that we're not even going to know what the the score is because they're not playing.
Unfortunate. But yeah, like you said, it's one of those like TDS Chocolate. You're already out of playoff contention. Just try to have some fun. If you take a win off of BDE, then you might be able to ruin their season a little bit. So you're playing like devil's advocate at that point. But Ritz, you also said 2-0 for BDE. Yeah, having gone against BDE, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
okay.
yeah, I just feel like they have that momentum, like winning against us. last week, and especially like they seem like a very strong team. And since Donut Shop is like basically out of playoffs, like either one thing happens where like Donut Shop just like completely like puts in new picks, like just crazy picks like the Renekton support that Pearl did, or just like they can do anything and then it might like overpower BD. But like at the end of the day, like BD seems like they have more practice and they just seem a lot more meshed together than Donut Shop, which had multiple roster switches, if I'm correct. Or if I'm wrong, I don't know. But yeah,
Yeah,
BD
imagine
just seems
having
like
roster staff.
true.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you. Like, making a whole bunch of roster swaps really puts a wrench into like team synergy even, right? Like if you
For
swap
sure.
out someone who's like the main shot caller, right, then that changes the whole team's dynamic like hugely. Um Obviously none of us are on the team. We can't say for sure, but the donut shop, I think, looking even at Wingman's document, I really have to agree with his matchup to watch, which is Fritz versus Minami. Minami, I think, has been a veteran in the EL scene for a while. Um, and like a stat that he pointed out was a 3 KDA in 5 games. So I think if TDS really wants to play around a player, play around Minami, right? See what happens. Take your most maybe like consistent, best performing player, give them like everything, play a funnel strat or something, see what happens. Like it's you're just trying to have fun at that point. See what goes down. What can you do with all of that? But other than that, yeah, BDE just has shown over and over again how consistent they are as a roster. All the other talent and all the other picks they can play. So it's obviously very hard for Donut Shop to really do much against them. But with that, we'll move on to not AH Tyranny anymore, but
Coachless.
Coachless Tyranny versus Glacial Phantom. So we have some hot takes. Ritz, you said 2-1 for Glacial Phantom.
Yeah. So, like when I said earlier, if they can go 7-0, I just feel like in this like at least like Elo, I just feel like there is a little bit of a like, okay, you're ahead. Let's maybe fool around. I mean, then again, like this is only in ranked games. I'm like only basing this off in like the low elo ranked games, and I just feel like if they overestimate Glacial, they might actually take a game. I'm just saying 2-1 just because it probably won't happen unless they get Synergy down maybe game one and then that momentum goes on. But again, like it's just like a challenge. I just wanted to, have some fun and like they actually might like upset like the top 4 standings. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like Cole was saying before, you can't just always predict that, like, oh, higher seed is gonna win. But I mean, you're looking at the top team that's 5-0 versus the bottom team that's 0-5. I think I don't remember if it was last week, but Clutch was like, yeah, I'm not trying to be mean, okay, but top of the standings, bottom of the standings. I don't have to say
Right.
anymore. So, I'm trying to save my predictions here. I'm trying to like have some better stats than Clutch. Somehow this guy always seems to like wiggle ahead of me in points. It's not fair, man. I swear, season 1 I was
I
gonna win.
always win.
I was actually like ahead the entire season. I was so cracked. And then suddenly this guy pulls ahead of me after playoffs and then it's doomed.
Whole diff.
Full div actually. So my question for you then, Cole, looking at these two teams, obviously you and I said 2-0 for Tyranny. Looking at Glacial Phantom, how plausible do you actually think Ritz's prediction is?
They're not winning.
They're not winning.
Cole,
Cole.
come on.
Listen,
How do you expect Iowa State to win the Sweet 16 then?
listen. If Glacial wins, all right. If Glacial wins this, Ritz, I'll give you a skin.
No, I don't want skin. I want you to play for our
You want
team.
me to play? Ritz, I can't play.
Alright.
If Glacial wins, I will give the whole entire G&E Pearl roster a mystery skin.
No, you should give the Glacial Phantom a skin.
And I'll give Glacial Phantom's roster.
Alright,
That's
alright,
10
good.
skins.
That's more than 10 skins.
But
if you
they
keep
can't.
on
But,
screen.
Oh, you're getting the entire team?
However, they can't. Entirety can't purposely throw. Because God knows they will purposely throw for this. And I'm just saying. They can't. If they purposely throw, they're banned from the league. So there you go. If Glacial legitimately wins, I will give Glacial's entire roster and Genie Pearl's entire roster mystery skins.
Wait, so aren't you just punishing
me.
them for losing? Like, what is that, man?
For tyranny?
Yeah, we're coachless tyranny.
Coachless tyranny? Well, they're gonna throw. Now that they heard that, they're just gonna throw so people get skins. Can't have that happen.
But my question is, if they throw, what if TD Syndicate inches ahead of them in the standings, right? Then they'd be 5-1, and that sucks. Is all he has to say. This is the TO, by the way, guys.
Yeah, you throw, and then you're tied. So I don't know if you want to throw because you could have your first place be in jeopardy. I'm just saying.
True, first seed, you get to automatically go against fourth seed, and then
That's true. First seed does go against fourth for free, and if you throw, that would not be very good. You do not want to drop because then you're gonna be playing a harder team. But all I'm saying is, you should get first, and don't throw this game or Big L.
Or Big L, L plus ratio, man.
True. Yeah.
Oh my god. Boomer speak. Okay, well, looking at that last and streamed series of this week, we have the Snack Bears versus G&E Pearl. Okay, so it kind of looks like I have the hot take this week, but is that really me? Or is that Ritz and Clutch? Just saying. I also had a little birdie through the... Okay, little birdie told me to say 2-0 for Snack Bears. Pretty much same reason why I said Snack Bears in the very first week, which was because, Snack Bears, that's a really cool name. G&E Pearl, man, pearls are totally lame, man, and G&E, what does that even stand for? Gaming and esports, is that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of lame, man. I don't know.
Trademark stuff. I can't. Yeah. I don't want to go into that story.
I think Clutch told me about it already. But yeah, that's kind of lame. Snack Bears, that's a name I'm gonna remember. That's one that's gonna, stay in my mind, that I'll dream about at night. But G&E Pearl, that honestly 2-0 for Snack Bears is kind of a hot take for me this week. I tried to save my stats in the last series when I said 2-0 for Tyranny. So 2-0 for Snack Bears this week. I feel like there's a lot riding on this series for them. I think that especially with the way that Snack Bears plays, I really want to see. Well, I don't know what I want to see anymore, because part of it is yeah, do I want them to play the super yeah, we're just gonna play some really random things, and well, I wouldn't say random, but the very off meta unconventional picks that will take genies by surprise, or the ones that we're gonna play standard and then just show you guys that we can play standard and just kind of smack you with it. But my question for you, Ritz, since you are the coach of this team for G&E, you said 2-1 instead of a 2-0. Is there a I'm not confident? So, okay, go ahead.
Nah, I just want to sabotage Cole, so yes, he has 3 games, so he doesn't need to watch this the Sweet 16 game for Iowa State. Other than that, I think Snack Bears is still a good team. I think they're a great team, but I think losing Talon is going to be a big thing for this team. So and especially Pearl's wake up call. Not gonna say much, but they've been practicing, so I think they'll pull through, and I think this will still be a close game.
Yeah, obviously don't leak any strats, but I kind of have to agree. I didn't want to say 2-1 for either Snack Bears or G&E. I think I feel like just on the hype train of G&E, watching them play week 1 and then watching them play again as the weeks have progressed, I've seen a lot of improvements, a lot of progress you made for them. So I feel like it's just kind of you guys have been doing well. I kind of want to gift you guys my prediction in the win, but that's what it is. So Clutch, you said 2-1 for Snack Bears. Do you think this series kind of swings into their favor off an unconventional pick, or do you think maybe G&E slips up because Ritz picked the wrong champion by accident?
Ooh.
Well, I thought Talon was going to be playing. He's not. So that probably sways my prediction a little bit. But I still think it's a 3-game series. I think mid lane is the lane to watch. I think Moonbeal versus Gabe Recall is going to be an absolute banger matchup. I think both these mids are very, very good and can take over a game with given the correct resources. So I'll be looking forward to see how that's going to go. But I mean, if Snack Bears, I mean, again, I made this prediction before I knew their entire roster basically wasn't going to be here. But you know, you got to pick the underdog. So I picked Snack Bears.
Oh man. See, he hates Genie.
Yeah,
I do not hate G&E.
totally doesn't like, you know, go to the school.
I don't go to the school, and I'm not the manager, and I also don't play for the
This
team.
is exactly like VBU. It's like I gotta vote against my own org. Maybe that's what this is. It's some reverse psychology going on. But Ritz, my last question for you. For G&E Pearl, I'll let you say basically anything you want about the team. Like, who's the MVP? Is there anything you want to point out? Do you think there's like a player that's like, you know, we should highlight more?
Nah.
Oh, it has to be me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think like definitely it should be the jungler role. I just feel like I mean I am a jungler, but like especially like both of them like splitting time and the rest of the team adapting towards junglers, just like understanding like, oh yeah, we can flex pick with this, we can flex pick with that. Like I think it's just great. Like these guys are trying to help out the team. But other than that, like I just think the team is just doing well. Like especially none of these guys like played in competitions ever. And they go to have fun and try to learn and like just let me dictate the game. I'm just proud of them for that.
That's very wholesome. So, I'll give you like 2 more minutes for G&E Pearl. Like overall, like obviously G&E Pearl, like you just said, roster saw these newbies. Do you think you'll see them playing again? Right? Are they having fun? Kind of like a, will they continue in the competitive scene, or was it just kind of like a Ritz forced us to be here?
I think like I don't have plans for them yet. Like as a school organization, like there's always going to be tryouts, but definitely like either they would go under a different org or people want to go out to amateur orgs like say like Cole's VBU and they want to start up another IBS team. It really, who knows? Like some people just wanted to play for this semester and that's it. So I can't say like all five or all six technically players would stick together, but I think it would be cool. So who knows?
Yeah, I mean, going into this series, I think it becomes like a celebration, right? Like, wow, good job, guys. You've, you know, really improved, like I said. Like you said as well, you know, they've improved a lot. You're very proud of them. You're like that proud father. Like now your kids, they can ride bikes. They don't need the training wheels anymore.
Better than Cole's team.
Better than Cole's team. Cole, are you just gonna take that, man? Yeah.
All I'm saying is, we went 4-2, and what's Pearl's record?
Oh,
Toxic.
gangster.
Plat 1, 31% win rate top laner. Woo!
That's kind of toxic, man.
Don't worry, guys. I didn't demote the Plat 1 last season. Just don't look.
Don't look. Yeah, and you were winning like 10 LP per game, bro, and somehow still made it back.
9-8.
Oh my god.
I demoted the Plat 1, 75 LP. I win one game, plus 9. I was like, and I'm stuck for the rest of the season. Then I ended up getting D2.
About to get benched.
Yeah, if anything, okay, if you can drop to P1, okay, and win 9 LP and still make it to D2, guys, you guys can get out of silver and get out of gold, okay? It's possible. If
Easily.
True. If he can, I seen Cole when he was silver, and that was
yeah. When I met Cole, Cole, when I met you, you were still playing in IBS and gold, man. Just saying.
Yeah, and now I'm P2. All I'm saying is, you guys are all better than me. Please just hit diamond. Like, it's not hard. I'm poop at the game.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, Mr. Like D1 peak. Okay.
P1 peaker.
D2 negative win rate. Woo!
Welcome to the club.
Yeah. So with that, obviously, Snack Bears G&E Pearl is our streamed match of the week. We're going to be starting in about 10 minutes here, 10-15. You know, hopefully Ritz will press start on the draft link and... Sorry?
They start at 8:30. Already
Alright.
having a delay.
Oh, yeah, there is a delay for this one. All right, 8:30 p.m. Eastern for this one. See, I make graphics and then I forget about them. It's like information is in and out of my head. Right, so this is 8:30. p.m. Eastern for Snack Bears, G&E Pearl. So hopefully we'll see you guys there. If you guys are streaming your matches, make sure to drop them in the community like streams channels and stuff, and people will obviously come down and watch. And sometimes Clutch and I, we go and look at the people who are still streaming after the VODs and stuff like that. So, yep, hope you guys are, enjoying the season so far. Second last week, that's kind of crazy. I don't know, time flies for sure. So, good luck to everyone. Yeah, it's crazy. So, good luck to everyone that's playing tonight. And hopefully you guys can tune in at 8:30 p.m. Eastern for Snack Bears versus G&E Pearl.